Hey there, Edgar community. We're excited to bring you another user spotlight from Kevin today, who's here from Magna Leadership Solutions. And he is going to share some really great tips, not only about how to keep your social media organized, but how automation fits in with that to give you a really engaging social media strategy. So I'm going to pass it over to Kevin real quick to chat a little bit about his company, and then we'll dive into the Meet Edgar good stuff. So Kevin, take it away.
Hi, Megan. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about MeetEdgar. We've been using it for about a year or two, and it's really been terrific for us because it keeps us kind of top of mind with all of our clients. And our firm, Magna Leadership Solutions, we are a small leadership consulting firm that we do a variety of things between, we have a leadership academy that we run, we have a whole suite of different workshops that we run on management, leadership, hiring, retention, motivation, engagement, the types of things that are necessary to keep an organization moving. And we've been in business about 13 years. All of us came out of industry. I spent 18 years at Intel managing their management leadership development. And now we're doing this on our own for the last 13 years and having a great time at it. And as you know, social media has become really a foundation for what's needed to be able to get the word out. And we started using MeetEdgar. We used to do things very manually, as I think most people are doing, a lot of my colleagues. And we were fortunate enough to hire a virtual assistant, Jamie Scoletti, several years ago. And this is one of her mainstays. So we went with the expert, and she set this up for us. And then since probably for the last year, we've been doing it on our own, because the good thing about MeetEdgar is it's so easy to use. It really provides, like I said, a presence for us, and we use it. We primarily use it for feeding our clients. We don't use it for selling. We use it for just keeping people informed, and like I said, being top of mind. So we have a feed into primarily LinkedIn. We have a Facebook page. We have Twitter accounts that we use, and we've really been able to build our following and have the automation do the kind of things that used to take us hours and hours to do, and now it takes us minutes. So we've been really pleased, and had the opportunity to share this with a lot of my colleagues, and I think they've done the same.
That is so great to hear. And I think you just touched on so many little gold nuggets in there. Not only the fact that social media doesn't have to be this scary thing where you feel like you have to sell all the time. It's simply just a conversation with your followers in order to get your brand out there, so that when it's time for them to buy and time for them to need your service, they know you, they like you, they trust you because you have been top of mind with them. So getting that beautiful sort of top of mind vibe going on for your followers. I notice you guys have a lot of different categories, and I imagine this plays into the fact that when you're describing your company and your business model, it has a lot of different sectors to it. So when you guys are using categories to create your content and schedule it to go out to all of your social medias, what was the driving factor behind these categories that you created, and how you actually use them in order to send content out at the right time to the right networks?
Well, I think we created the categories because we wanted to make sure that we were providing a variety of different types of feeds to the clients. And when we've talked to our clients, I don't think any of them recognized that this is automated. You know, one of the first questions is, so I run actually a consortium of consultants that we get together and we do kind of this mastermind session. And there's about 15 of them. And we just share best known methods. And one of the things that when we first started it, they wanted to know is like, how do you spend the time? How do you get all this great content, all this different information, you know? And because they're expecting like this is hours, or I have somebody that's hired and they're off doing this, 20, 30 hours a week. So we focused on the different categories because once again, we wanted to give a variety of value to our clients. We wanted to make sure that this was really focused on them. And one of our foundations of what we do in our leadership academy is we've moved it from an event to a process. And part of the process is this continuous feed of information. So we tell them, whatever social media works best for you, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. We don't use for since our content is more heavily geared towards executives and business. We haven't really used Pinterest or Instagram very much. I think it's just because most of our clients don't use that. So we focus there, and what it does is it allows us to provide them a nice feed of information, lots of different categories, keeps it interesting. We don't tell them what's behind the curtain, right? In fact, the book that we had written is called The Leader of Oz. It's we took the story of the Wizard of Oz and we made it a business story. So we use the metaphors of like behind the man behind the curtain. So we don't tell them what's behind the curtain here at all. We just talk about the importance of continuous learning and knowledge sharing. And I think one of the things that I do on a regular basis is being I'm a professor at 5 universities at the moment, in addition to doing this. So I am this consummate learner. So every morning I have my first 45 minutes of my day is to really to get up and then go look for great content that can be shared. And I have lots of different feeds for that. But the one thing that I found is, we have our RSS feed that goes into MeetEdgar along with some other feeds, and it makes it very easy for me to do my research. So that's where I start. I read all the articles, the ones that are good. I accept the ones, because I have the whole queue for people that haven't used MeetEdgar. Everything comes into a queue, and then you have the ability to review it, accept it, or delete it, reject it. And that's one of my first activities that I do in the morning. So I make sure I'm getting really good content out for the clients to make a difference.
Yeah, that is such a good strategy to take. So if you're not aware of the MeetEdgar RSS feeds, you can set up as many feeds as you want in order for them to come into your pending content queue and make a workflow for yourself to make sure you're adding the valuable ones for your followers to your library. And Edgar will automatically send it out once that category is on your schedule, and then reject the ones that aren't. But it saves you a ton of time because you don't have to go out and Google those articles and search for them online. And in this beautiful social media cycle, as Kevin was saying, it's about sharing your knowledge and sharing your spin on those articles so you can customize them within MeetEdgar, tell your readers why you loved reading about them, and then have those go out to your followers so they then don't have to go search online for them. They just have to follow your social channels. So it is a really cool way to share that information and to make sure that you are seen as the expert and you stay, like Kevin was mentioning, top of mind for your followers. I also love how you said that you know your audience so well that you know you don't have to waste your time being on Instagram and Pinterest, because that's not where they're consuming that content. So I think that as social media managers and as people creating content, it is really important for us to think about what networks our audience is hanging out on and to create content there rather than just trying to grow everywhere. Show up for where the people you have are. So I think that's a really cool thing that you guys zoned in on, and a really cool way that you're able to serve the people really great articles that you're finding there. One last thing that I love that you said is just the ability to say to your clients, hey, I'm using this social media automation tool, but you don't have to actually let them know that, because if you're putting in this work ahead of time, automation doesn't have to be this scary, spammy thing. It's actually serving your clients better because it's making you more intentional, and it's making sure that the content you're creating is created in a space where it's strictly focused on content creation. You're not being pulled in all these different directions, but systemizing it really makes sure that you're giving the best content when it's meant to go out. So I would love for you to talk about kind of your schedule and when you decide to send stuff to each client account and how you figure that out. When you're showing up to stay top of mind, how are you putting these time slots onto the schedule per category and what accounts they're going out to?
Sure. Well, let's with regard to the scheduling, the thing that we've looked at is, so we've done a little bit of investigation, and we track all of the times where people are most active on the different accounts. So that's the first thing that I'd recommend to any of the people viewing this is figure out where your hot times are and make sure that you're posting a little bit more during the active times than the times that are not active. That seems to has worked for me. I don't know whether that's a good strategy or not, but I figure when you have 3 or 4x times the amount of viewers in from 9 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. East Coast time, whatever the slot is, that posting a little bit more in there is a good idea, right? So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is that depending on how you're trying to grow your audience, also it depends on the frequency that you do posting. So for us, we post, I would say, um, from a ratio perspective, we probably post like the foundation. If you use the foundation of LinkedIn, we post LinkedIn the least amount, right? Because we don't want to over spam people, or we don't want to overload them. We want to really just make sure that the articles that are going in there are incredibly relevant, right? So we don't want to have too many there. And then probably at 2x the 2 or 3x the rate that we do LinkedIn, we do Facebook, right? Because it's a little more active. And, Facebook, as I think everyone knows, and this is at least my understanding, you can tell me whether it's different, is that they kind of pick and choose. So everything that goes out, everything you post doesn't go into the feed. I think there's like a 30% hit rate or whatever. So that's why we triple those, right? And we figure we'll get more Facebook. And then on top of that, then we do with Twitter has, I think, some of the same percentages, maybe even a little more, even a little bit lower. And then we essentially double that again, right? So it's probably six or seven times what we do in LinkedIn, and that seems to be a reasonable ratio. One, it gets to the people that we're focused on, our clients, and it also helps us build our base. We're getting very close to. In fact, I checked it this morning right before our call. We're just hit 47,000 followers in Twitter, which is really nice. And most people think, "Oh my God, that's impossible to do." Well, if you're diligent about it, and you stay active, you'd be surprised. People will really follow you. Now, just to give everybody an idea, is we didn't really get active with the follow working the followings till about 3 or 4 years ago, but that Twitter feed has been in existence for about 13 or 14 years. So it's taken us a while to get there. It doesn't happen overnight. But the good news is we're getting the kind of people that we want there, as opposed to just random people. So.
Yeah, I love that so much. Just again, making sure that you're tailoring your posts for the network as well as for your audience, and not just doing it at the times of day that you might read in an aggregate article, because that is what is going to set you apart from others in your industry, showing up when your audience is online so that they can catch that information. As you were mentioning, networks, especially like Twitter, move so quickly that it's hard for people to take that recency and see it in their feed unless you're showing up at the times they're there and multiple times a day. So you guys zoning in this much and realizing if you stay consistent, people are seeing your information. If you're going into your Facebook insights and your Twitter analytics and placing the time of yourself to actually see when your audience is online, and then placing your time slots on your MeetEdgar schedule to go out at that time, just give it the time to stay consistent so people know that you're not just a passing trend, that you're someone there to stay and someone that they can count on in that way. So taking the time to do this is just huge. And I love that you've noticed continuing to show up and providing that information is truly paying off to get those followers to trust you and to really go along the social media path of continuing to follow you. So this has been such a wealth of information, and I'd love for you just to leave us with one more tip or trick, either about why you love using MeetEdgar and how you've really optimized it, or about social media in general that our audience can really take action on today.
Good. Well, I think I've saved the best tip to last. I was hoping
Nice.
you'd give me that chance to do that. And I have to say, one of my most favorite features in MeetEdgar. Now, we used to use some of the other tools similar to MeetEdgar in the past, and we just found that they were a little more time intensive, less friendly. They certainly did the job, but when we started using MeetEdgar, that just made all the difference. It was just so easy to use, so easy to learn. Has really worked completely flawlessly. I love the when your content gets low, it sends you a notification, so that we make sure. In fact, I got a notification this morning. I need to go, and it says your content for this Twitter feed is a little bit low. So I'll go in right after that. But I think the absolute favorite tool within MeetEdgar, which I'm not sure everybody, maybe you can tell us whether everybody's using or not, is the auto generate. That feature is by far worth the price of admission for the year with MeetEdgar. And for those of you that don't know it, is each morning when I go through the different feeds, the articles that are pending, right, so that before I approve, is there's a little button there you can click and it'll say auto generate. And what it does is it goes in and it looks in the article and it pulls out appropriate kind of quotes, and it puts them at the top of the article. So the article just doesn't show up on its own, but it shows up with a quote just as if you've written it. And I think that's one of the things that gives the impression to our clients. Hopefully there's not too many of our clients watching this, right? It gives our impression to the clients that, that we're spending lots and lots of time really extracting the best information. And because the auto quotes show up, and I usually gives you, I think, five auto quotes, that when it gets posted, they post different ones, so it doesn't look like the same content over and over and over again. And I think it feels very, very personalized.
Yeah, that's so great to hear. So the auto-generate variations was initially done because Twitter did come out with the term of service that said you can't send the same tweet to the same Twitter account more than once anymore. But here at MeetEdgar, we believe so strongly in evergreen content and making sure that you're able to not use a status update just once and have it disappear into the black hole of social media, but you're able to resurface it not only for your new followers, but for those who didn't get to engage with it the first time you sent it. And if you're auto-generating variations from a blog post, as Kevin was mentioning, Edgar actually goes in and gets some pull quotes to send out along with that link, which means A, you can reshare that same link on Twitter while staying in compliance with their terms of service. But B, it gives you the ability to test different messaging that see what is going to resonate with your followers. And it's giving people the ability to get a little bit of value from that blog link without having to click through, because it's giving you those snippets they can read, they can get a little preview, they can get a little value out of it. And if they don't have time to click through, they can still be able to say, oh, this is such a great feed to follow because I get this little snippet out of it. So I'm so glad you found that useful, and using it in conjunction with the RSS feeds is the fastest way to get curated content or your own blog content to have status updates written for you and get them out to your community. So that's so great to hear it's working for you there. Well, Kevin, thank you so much. This has been an amazing wealth of information, and we're so glad to have you as a part of the MeetEdgar community.
All right, thanks for the opportunity, Megan.
All right, have a good day.
All right, bye-bye.